6 sinister first date encounters revealed. Haunted secrets that will keep you terrified and single in the quiet suburban town of Maplewood. Nothing is ever as it seems. Take Sarah, a 32-year-old single mom, recently divorced and feeling the weight of the world. As she scrolls through a dating app late one night, her heart races when she matches with Mike. His smile is warm, his charm electric. But in a town where friendly neighbors cast long shadows, something sinister lingers just out of sight. The first date is set in an old diner forgotten by time, filled with the ghosts of laughter and nostalgia. The cracked paint and sticky floors scream abandonment. As Sarah steps inside, the stale grease and dust fill her senses, stirring an unease in her gut. Mike is already seated, the overhead lights flickering ominously as if the universe itself senses her trepidation. The walls, adorned with eerie folklore murals, seem to whisper secret stories of rituals and sacrifices. With each laugh shared, her excitement stumbles over an escalating sense of dread. The light flickers again, casting shadows that twist like tortured souls. Sarah grips the edge of the table, her heart thudding in her chest. Was that whispering? Voices creeping in, echoing through the empty diner. She glances at Mike, whose laughter masks something too smooth, too rehearsed. Everything feels wrong, but the warmth in his gaze draws her back, anchors her in the moment. It's a desperate attempt to ignore her instincts. Then he mentions his father, a sheriff linked to the town's dark past, connecting him to the rituals hinted at in those unsettling murals. Sarah's stomach drops. The sheriff vanished, consumed by the whispers of Maplewood and the dread titans. Was Mike part of this secrets-laden history? As the lights flicker more wildly, each shadow seems to pulse, an entity arising from the collective memory of the diner. Panic sweeps over her, chills running down her spine. Before her mind can spiral, the diner door bursts open. It's Linda, her former babysitter, her trusted neighbor, eyes wide with urgency. You need to leave. Don't trust him. The weight of her words hangs in the air like a storm cloud, ready to unleash chaos. The tension thickens, tightening Sarah's chest. Mike's face tightens, a fleeting flicker of annoyance darting across his features. Before we continue, I need to tell you something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to their system, and many people are missing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, click the bell and select all notifications so you don't miss future videos. And if you can leave a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, tell me in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. The diner seems to breathe, shadows coiling tighter around her. Sarah's thoughts race, torn between the allure of Mike's charm and Linda's wild-eyed warning. The whispers grow louder, swirling in her mind, as the mural eyes seem to watch her every move. Mike inches closer, his smile tight and predatory. Something primal inside her screams to flee as the walls close in. In a town steeped in darkness, is this charming man a beacon of light or the harbinger of her worst nightmare? The once promising date spirals into a vortex of terror, leaving Sarah wrestling with her instincts. Will she make it out of this diner? Or has she unwittingly stepped into a trap woven from the very shadows that haunt Maplewood? The air thickens as decisions loom, forcing her to confront not just Mike, but the dark history of a town that thrives on fear and sacrifice. Sarah's heart races as she weighs her options. The walls of the diner feel like they are closing in, the murals shifting subtly, their grotesque figures twisting into faces that seem to mock her. Mike's movement pulls her attention back to him, his expression a mask of feigned concern that sends chills down her spine. Are you okay? He asks, though the sweetness in his voice feels hollow. Linda stands frozen in the door, her eyes darting back to Mike as if she can't decide who to fear more. Panic rises in Sarah, overtaking her senses. She glances at Linda, seeking reassurance, but nothing about her old babysitter's panicked visage feels comforting. It only deepens her unease, making her wonder what exactly Linda knows that she doesn't. Sarah? Please, come with me. Linda's voice jerks Sarah from her trance. Glancing from Mike to Linda, Sarah sees the storm brewing in Mike's eyes, the patience wearing thin. The flickering lights cast unsettling shapes across his face, transforming him into something almost monstrous. Without thinking, she reaches for her phone, but her hands tremble, making it hard to unlock the screen. The diner around them seems to thrum with energy, a palpable tension hanging thick in the air. It sounds like the old place has a pulse, a heartbeat matched to the quickened thudding of her own. "Why should I listen to you?" Sarah asks, her voice barely above a whisper. But the challenge is there, laced with desperation. Linda takes a step forward. "Because I know about the rituals, the disappearances, the sacrifices. Your date is part of it." P.S. connected to them. Mike suddenly stands, the chair scraping loudly against the floor. "That's enough." He glances at Linda, anger simmering just beneath the surface. The air thickens with a silent threat. "You shouldn't be here. Please, we have to leave." Linda's urgency spills over, drawing the attention of a few patrons who cast curious and concerned glances their way. "Is this how you treat guests, Sarah?" He chuckles, the sound chilling her to the bone. "I thought you wanted to have a nice evening, not with a killer." "I don't," Linda shouts, her voice echoing in the near-empty diner. Mike's demeanor shifts, his smile stiffening into something far more disturbing. Without warning, he lunges toward Linda, but Sarah grabs her wrist, pulling her away just in time. "Let us go," she cries, adrenaline surging. Together, they rush to the door. Panic floods through Sarah, gnawing at her instincts. Behind them, the diner's atmosphere grows heavier, an unseen force pushing against them as if the building itself is unwilling to let them leave. As they burst outside, the night greets them like a breath of fresh air, jolting them back to reality. But the tranquility is short-lived. A piercing howl echoes from nearby woods, sending a fresh wave of dread crashing over her. It's the same howl she heard when she scrolled through the app and first saw Mike's profile. "Did you hear that?" Sarah whispers, her voice trembling. Linda nods, her face pale. "It's not safe here. We need to go to my place." As they hurriedly step away from the diner, the yellow glow of the exit fades into darkness. Shadows dance behind them, rippling in shapes that provoke fear. The thought of Mike, of whatever darkness he harbored inside, grips her with icy fingers. But back in the diner, the laughter continues, bright and false. Mike sits there, a cold smile stretched across his face. The walls close in half-heartedly, surrendering to the sinister stories they've absorbed over the years. No one understands the connection between him and the town as they hasten down the street. Sarah can't shake the feeling of being watched. It gnaws at her, a whisper of dread urging her to look back. But it's not just Mike she fears. It's the shadows of Maplewood and what they may remember. "Linda, what is happening here?" Sarah breathes, bewildered. Linda hesitates, her expression darkening. "I'll explain as soon as we're safe. But it's worse than you think." And just like that, the ground shakes beneath them, sending tremors through the quiet night. What has awakened in Maplewood? And how does it tie them all together? The answers hover just out of reach, cloaked in the suffocating darkness. Their hurried steps echoed against the pavement, the night air thick with a tension that clawed at Sarah's throat. She glanced at Linda, whose face was a mask of terror, eyes wide and darting nervously, as if they could sense the darkness creeping closer behind them. "Faster," Linda urged, pulling Sarah along as they veered past flickering streetlights that cast long, eerie shadows. The howl from the woods rang again, louder, more desperate. It echoed in Sarah's mind, a cruel reminder of the unseen threat just beyond sight. What do you know about Mike?" Sarah asked, struggling to match Linda's pace. She could barely keep the fear at bay, her heart hammering in her chest like a drumbeat of doom. "He's not just a guy. He's a part of something massive," Linda panted, glancing back over her shoulder. "You have to understand, people go missing around here. They vanish. It's always connected to him." "Connected how? What are you talking about?" "There are rituals," Linda said urgently, gripping Sarah's shoulder as they ducked into a narrow alley. "Every few years, they need someone like you." Sarah's stomach dropped. "Me? Why me?" "They feed on fear. He's part of a cult that sacrifices people. To keep this place alive. To keep the darkness buried." Her legs felt like lead, the weight of dread pressing down on her. "And you knew? All this time?" Linda shook her head vehemently. "I didn't know until just recently. I've seen what they do. I was too scared to admit it. A rustle in the shadows made Sarah freeze. They weren't alone. A figure emerged, silhouetted by the dim glow of the streetlight. It was a man, wild-eyed, hair disheveled, clothes tattered. He stumbled toward them, hands outstretched. "Help! You have to help me." His voice was frantic, disjointed, an echo of madness. Something about him sent icy fingers of fear gripping Sarah's spine. "Stay back," Linda shouted, pulling Sarah closer. "Don't listen to him." But the man continued to inch toward them, sweat glistening on his forehead, his eyes darting like a trapped animal. "They're coming for you. Tonight. They want her. You have to run." "Who?" Sarah shouted, her mind racing. Suddenly, a rustle echoed from the darkness behind the man, growing louder, shifting. Shapes revealed themselves, shadows elongating into grotesque forms. They slinked towards them, snaking through the alley like whispers of death. "They're here!" The man screamed, his voice shattering the night. Panic surged through Sarah. She turned to Linda, who was wide-eyed, fear so raw it seemed to vibrate in the air between them. "Run!" Linda yelled, shoving Sarah forward as the figures surged closer, eyes glowing with an otherworldly light. They bolted deeper into the alley, the cacophony of footsteps and wild laughter echoing behind them. The alley twisted and turned, a labyrinth of terror. Each corner felt like a chance to escape or an invitation to their doom. "We need to get to my house. It's south, the only place left," Linda shouted, gripping Sarah's arm tighter. Sarah glanced back, the shadows growing bolder. She could hear whispers, dark promises collecting in the air like smoke. But what if they weren't the only ones aware of the darkness always hanging over Maplewood? Is there no one else? How can we trust that we won't end up like them? Sarah yelled, desperation spilling out. Linda's gaze hardened. "Trust me. We can't stop now. If we don't reach my house, it's the end." The fear coiled tighter in Sarah's gut, each pulse of her heartbeat matching the rhythm of the relentless night. The shadows loomed closer, their whispers escalating to chants, a carnival of dread all beckoning them to succumb. "Behind us!" Linda cried, panic painted across her features. Just ahead, a glimmer of light flickered. A house. Her house glowed faintly like a beacon. But could it truly be safe? Or was it merely an invitation into the lion's den? As they raced toward the door, a chilling thought crossed Sarah's mind. Once inside, no one was guaranteed survival. What waited for them beyond that threshold? They lunged forward, daggers of terror piercing. Through the night, the door stood slightly ajar, creaking eerily as they approached. Would it protect them or trap them? And with that uncertainty, the shadows whispered their promises, hungry and waiting. With a burst of adrenaline, they pushed through the half-open door, slamming it shut behind them. The noise echoed in the dimly lit entryway, an ominous reminder of the chaos still racing through the streets. A heavy silence engulfed them, yet in that silence lingered the electric tension of something primal, something that could sense their fear. Linda leaned against the door, breathless, her eyes darting around the living room like a deer in headlights. "Lock it, now," she urged, her voice trembling. Sarah scrambled to pull the bolt, her fingers slick with sweat. The sound of the lock clicking into place felt like it might offer them a sliver of safety. "Where's your family?" Sarah asked, holding on to that thread of hope as they stood in the low light surrounded by flickering shadows from the outside world. The feeling of being trapped tightened around her throat. "They're away for the night." Linda's voice faltered. "I thought it would be safe. I thought it would just be us. Why didn't you tell me this was all?" A loud bang echoed behind them. Sarah jumped, her heart nearly leaping out of her chest. Instinctively, she moved to hide behind Linda. The shadows outside twisted with renewed fervor, pulsing against the windows, clawing at the edges of their sanctuary. "It's starting," Linda whispered, her breath hitching as she peered through the blinds. "They found us. I knew they would." "Who?" Sarah pressed, her pulse thrumming in her ears. "The cult, Mike's cult," Linda choked out. "They've come for you. They need you." "What do you mean they need me?" Panic clawed at Sarah's gut. "I don't understand. Why me?" Linda turned slowly, her eyes glistening with both fear and a dark realization. "It has to be someone they can feed off. I didn't know it before, but you're special to them, Sarah. They thrive on your energy, your fear. The realization settled like a cold stone in Sarah's stomach. She had been pulled into something unfathomable, a nightmare with no escape. Suddenly, glass shattered from the kitchen, sending fragments flying. They spun towards the source, every nerve ending screaming for them to run again. Linda grasped Sarah's wrist and tugged her towards the back of the house. We have to go to the basement. It's south, the only place they want to look immediately. Are you crazy? Sarah shouted, drawing in a shaky breath. That's where they expect us to go. No choice. Linda cried, pulling her toward the staircase. We can barricade ourselves down there. It might buy us some time. With a reluctant nod, Sarah followed, dread pooling at the pit of her stomach as they descended the creaking stairs into darkness. The air felt colder, heavy with the weight of secrets and despair. Once in the basement, Linda hurriedly piled old furniture and crates in front of the door, the sound of wood scraping against wood making Sarah wince. Do you have any candles? A flashlight? No, Linda swallowed hard. But we have to stay quiet. They might not know we're here yet. The noise above them escalated into chaos. Voices slithering through the cracks in the floor. Chants echoed, chilling in their synchronized rhythm. Sarah huddled close to Linda, their breaths mingling in the claustrophobic darkness. They must be trying to summon something, Sarah whispered, fear creeping into her tone. Whatever it is, it's feeding off the fear, Linda replied, her voice steadier now, yet laced with tension. We have to fight it off. You just have to stay calm. Think of something calm? Are you kidding? They're going to kill us. Just focus. A silence settled for a moment, the chaos above momentarily quieting. But just as hope dared to bloom, the heavy sound of footsteps approached, and the basement door rattled violently. Linda clutched Sarah's hand, their eyes wide and fearful. Look, Sarah gasped, pointing to a faint light emerging from the shadows at the far wall of the basement. What lurked there wasn't just light. It was something else, something that flickered with an unnatural life. Stay back, Linda hissed, her voice just above a murmur. But the light pulsed, and the whispers grew. Clearer, mixing with laughter, a sinister melody that wrapped around them like a noose. Did you think you could hide? A voice taunted from the other side of the door. A voice both familiar and dreadful. You belong to us now. Sarah's breath caught in her throat. The world turned dark before her eyes as the light beckoned her. An invitation laced with danger. At that moment, they had a choice. Confront whatever nightmare lay beyond, or succumb to the shadows that threatened to swallow them whole. What would they decide in this fight against darkness? Would they step into the light? Or would they risk everything to survive another night? The air grew thick around them, almost palpable, as the whispers seemed to seep under their skin. Every breath felt like a weighted choice. Do they face the unknown, or surrender to the shadows? Linda, what do we do? Sarah's voice trembled, swallowed by the darkness pressing in. The light pulsated again, and Sarah felt an irresistible pull, like tendrils of smoke wrapping around her limbs. Don't look at it. Linda's voice was sharp, cutting through the encroaching dread. Think of something, anything else. We need to. The door shook again, more violently this time, splintering one side of the wooden frame with an anguished howl. The scream of wood was nearly drowned by the laughter from above, laughter that chilled them to their very bones. Help us! A voice broke through the laughter. The cry was muffled, distorted, but unmistakably human. A voice Sarah knew. Is that Mark? Sarah gasped, her heart racing. Mark's face flashed in her mind, always smiling, always joking, even when life got tough. They're taking him. We have to help him. No! Linda shouted, desperation rising in her tone. We can't. It's a trap. But Sarah felt her resolve crack under the weight of terror. With a swift motion, she bolted towards the door. I'm not leaving him. Wait! Linda lunged after her, gripping Sarah's arm just as she threw open the door. The light poured in, blinding her. The basement was no longer a bastion of solitude. It had become an abyss stretching into an endless expanse of vacant faces twisted with glee, mouths wide and grinning, chanting in demonic harmony. Mark hung in the center, suspended by unseen chains, eyes wide with terror. Help me! He screamed, the sound raw and desperate. Mark! Sarah cried, reaching out. The laughter from above crescendoed, enveloping her in a cold, clammy embrace. Come to him, a voice whispered, soft like silk yet heavy with menace. He needs you, we all do. Linda seized Sarah's shoulders, shaking her slightly. No, this is their game. They feed on your fear, your guilt. You can't let them have that. You have to fight. But even as Linda's words echoed through her mind, Sarah felt herself sliding into the abyss, the light now more alluring than ever. She watched as Mark's face twisted in pain, his vibrant spirit crushed beneath the weight of the cult's malevolence. Suddenly, an echo of a loud crash from the kitchen floor exploded above them, followed by a crack of wood splintering and a long, droning creak. The ceiling trembled ominously, dust raining down as walls fought to hold together. Linda's eyes widened in shock. They're coming. We have to move. The basement started trembling, something ancient and foreboding awakening within the house. Angry at being disturbed. No! Sarah screamed again, but this time the floor began to shift beneath her. Driven by primal instinct, Sarah turned to the flickering light one last time, trying to grasp onto it like a life preserver in a storm. It pulsed brighter, enticing her further into the darkness. In that moment, she made her choice. I will save him, she shouted defiantly, breaking free from Linda's grip and leaping into the light. Linda screamed Sarah's name, but she was already enveloped by the glowing embrace. As she crossed the threshold, a new sound arose, a deafening cacophony of wails and roars mixed with laughter. The shadows coiled around her, pulling her deeper into whatever hell awaited. Then everything went dark. Linda stood at the top of the stairs, horror etched across her face, breathless, feeling the weight of the choice they had made. Trembling, she glanced back at the door, wondering if they were forever lost. Sarah! She shouted into the darkness, her voice barely a whisper now. Footsteps echoed back in response, now rushing up the basement stairs heavy and relentless, marching toward her. Just as she turned to run, a figure emerged, blocking the exit. But it wasn't just any figure, it was Mark, or what was left of him. His eyes glowed with a haunting light, the remnants of his smile twisted in a horrific grin. Welcome back, Linda, he said, his voice an echo of what it once was. Suddenly, she understood. The real horror was just beginning. Could she find Sarah before it was too late? Would she dare face the laughter that now filled the house? Linda's heart raced, thundering in her ears as Mark's distorted figure hovered just beyond the doorframe, blocking her escape. His once boyish features were now warped, stretched into a grin that seemed more a mask than a face. Get away from me, she screamed, backing against the wall, her breath coming in short, panicked gasps. He stepped forward, the shadows churning around him like a living cloak. You don't have to be afraid. His voice, though familiar, dripped with a chilling mockery. There's nothing to fear down here. Only acceptance and freedom. Freedom to what? Become like you? Linda's voice rang with defiance, even as her knees threatened to buckle. The shadows pulsed, a ripple of distance that felt like a sickening heartbeat. You've always questioned who you are. Haven't you? This is a chance to let go of your past. He gestured grandly, and the air shimmered. Around them, phantoms emerged from the shadows. Warped figures with hollow eyes and twisted expressions, extensions of the laughter that echoed through the basement. No! Linda stumbled backwards, desperate to break the connection. This isn't real, you're not him. Mark's grin widened, cracking the facade of sanity. But I am and I'm not. Come, Linda. Join us. The laughter intensified, a cacophony of mockery that pulled at her mind, echoing her own deepest fears. You could keep Sarah company. You would be so happy. Images of Sarah's terrified face flashed through Linda's mind. She had to fight. She couldn't let this thing consume her spirit like it had with Mark. Just then, the walls trembled, the house moaning in response to her thoughts. A section of the ceiling began to sag ominously, dust cascading like tiny ghosts falling from the rafters. Linda screamed, I won't let you take me. With a surge of adrenaline, she charged towards Mark. You may have taken him, but you'll never have me. As she barreled into the shadows, everything exploded into chaos. The basement walls seemed to cave in, closing the space around her. She felt the edges of her vision darken as the weight of the spirits pressed down on her. each whisper like a dagger in her skin. "Help her! Help her!" They cried out, a chorus of despair mingling with the laughter. She could feel their coldness, the chill wrapping around her heart, urging her to submit. But just when the darkness threatened to claim her, she spotted the unmistakable flicker of light, a dull glow lingering in the corner. Sarah! Instinct surged within her. She dove toward the light, dodging shadowy hands that grasped at her with desperation. "Sarah!" Linda screamed into the void, forcing her way towards the light, each step feeling like wading through treacle. The oppressive murmur that had filled the air turned to a screech, angry at her defiance. Then, in a gasp, she broke into the warm light, finding herself back in the basement, gasping for breath. It felt like a rebirth from the shadows. But even as she caught her breath, panic surged again. "Sarah?" she called, scanning the space frantically. Nothing answered but the chilling echoes of her own voice. She turned to the light, heart racing once more. It pulsed, shimmering with necessity, pulling her deep into the mystery that awaited. "Sarah!" she cried again, this time feeling the weight of urgency grow heavier on her chest. Then, from the corner of her eye, she saw a flicker of movement. A shadow darted past her, too quick to grasp. No, not again. Could she find her friend in this labyrinth of fear? Or would she simply become another whisper lost to the echoing void? As panic set in and shadows began closing in around her again, she realized the laughter returned, louder than ever, as if mocking her struggle. The way forward was uncertain, but she wouldn't turn back. She stepped deeper into the light, ready to confront the darkness once more, but something cold brushed her arm, sending shivers down her spine. What lay ahead, the truth or the seduction of the abyss? Linda's breath caught as the cold touch lingered on her arm. It felt like icy fingers tracing the outline of her panic. She whipped around, scanning the dark corners of the basement, heart thrumming like a drum demanding to be freed. "Who's there?" she shouted, the tremor in her voice betraying the fear coursing through her. Silence hung heavy, thick enough to swallow her whole. She wished for a reassuring reply, for Sarah's laughter. But dread whispered back instead, a cruel echo of her own uncertainty. The shadows writhed around her, pulsing with an energy that felt almost alive. Each flicker of the waning light urged her to turn back, to submit to the terror that promised acceptance. Winds of despair swept through the basement, rustling an unseen presence that left her skin prickling. Then, a sound broke through, soft and almost intimate, yet chilling, a laugh. It twisted her stomach into knots. Was it Mark? Or was it one of the haunting phantoms who had surrounded her just moments ago? "Linda," it whispered, almost sweetly. She pressed her palms against her ears, trying to block it out. "No, you're not real." But the laughter persisted, filling the air like a cloying mist. Inside her, the voice echoed, mingling with her own fears. She felt it wrap around her, slicing through her resolve, pulling at the corners of her mind. "Join us," it beckoned, dripping with temptation. "You could find peace." With a sudden clarity, Linda stumbled forward into the light that flickered ahead, desperate to seize it. It swirled, brightening just enough to illuminate an outline of what stood behind the shadows. Her pulse raced as she was momentarily blinded by its brilliance. "Sarah!" she yelled again, the name a lifeline thrown into a storm. She pushed forward, heart hammering, praying for a response. The shadows shrieked, angry at her defiance, a deafening cacophony that swelled around her like a tidal wave. She skidded on the dusty floor, breath coming faster, choking on the darkness that threatened to engulf her. The faint flicker ahead vanished, and the basement plunged back into obscurity. Suddenly, she heard another sound. A soft whimper coming from the depths of the cellar. Not from Mark, not from the twisted phantoms. This was real. This was Sarah. "Stay strong," Linda shouted, forcing her body forward against the tide of despair. She reached out with trembling hands, each step feeling like it could be her last. The whimpering grew louder, more frantic. "Linda, please." It tore through the shadows, a cry for help mingled with fear. Linda's veins pulsed with adrenaline, and she darted towards the sound, the urgency piercing through her fear like a blade. "Sarah!" But the basement twisted, its corners shifting and folding like a nightmare crafted from her darkest dreams. Shadows danced, elongating into grotesque shapes, reaching out for her. They scraped against her skin, cold as ice, whispering of betrayal and forgotten dreams, pulling her back with invisible chains. "No!" Linda screamed, fighting against them. "I won't let you take me." Just as she felt the tendrils of darkness wrap tightly around her throat, she broke through, emerging into a small shaft of light. There, at the center, was Sarah, trembling but seemingly alive. Linda reached out, but the space between them stretched inexplicably, the light flickering dangerously. "Don't move," she called, heart racing. "I'm coming." And then, from the edge of her vision, a figure glided towards Sarah. It was Mark. "Come home, Linda," he crooned. "You're meant to be with us." The shadows stirred, angry and desperate, as Linda pulled her gaze from the horrifying sight. She couldn't lose Sarah, couldn't let this thing take them both. But what could she do? The walls around her trembled, the laughter swelling like a tempest. Time felt suspended. The air grew thick with tension. Linda Sarah's whisper was fragile, a mere breath against the rising chaos. In that moment, Linda knew the choice she faced: stay and fight, or succumb to the abyss that had claimed Mark. But could she really save them both? Suddenly, the basement trembled violently, sending a shudder through the very bones of the house. The shadows screamed, rising in fury. As her heart thudded like a war drum, Linda made her choice and lunged towards Sarah, but the ground began to crack. Would she save her friend, or would they both be lost forever to the dark? A final heartbeat of dread echoed through the room as the shadows closed in around them. Time seemed to slow, and then darkness fell. What else could be waiting in the void? The answer was growing ever closer. The darkness wrapped around Linda like a suffocating blanket, the weight of it pressing down hard against her chest. Silence thrummed in her ears, drowning out the wild thumping of her pulse. Where was Sarah? She fought against the stillness, straining to remember the feel of her friend's hand, the warmth of their laughter. Panic clawed at her from within. "Sarah?" she whispered, voice trembling in the emptiness. No answer came. A flash of light flickered to her left, momentary and teasing. With a jolt, she spun towards the glimmer, believing it to be her way out. Darkness shifted around her, a mass of writhing shadows eager to swallow her whole. Her breathing quickened as she followed the light, each step plunging her deeper into a pit of uncertainty. "You shouldn't have come here," the voice echoed, smooth and sultry, reverberating off the cold walls. She froze, paralyzed by fear. "Who's there?" Her words drifted in the gloom, thick and heavy. "Someone who cares." The voice was almost melodic, yet it sent shivers crawling up Linda's spine. "You shouldn't have left, Linda. You can't abandon your family." Images flashed in her mind, familiar, disjointed scenes of laughter, of panic, of the darkness creeping in. Was it her family? The shadows danced in her peripheral vision, like ghosts eager to drag her down into their depths. "No, you're not real," she shouted into the darkness, her voice a desperate cry. Was it Mark? Was it something worse? She had to push through the malevolence, had to find Sarah. The shadows swelled, suddenly close, their icy breath sending tingles across her skin. She stumbled back, her foot catching on something unseen. With a gasp, she fell hard onto the damp floor, panic flooding her mind. Linda Sarah's voice broke through, faint as a whisper and full of desperation. It was coming again from the abyss, drawing her closer. "Hold on." Something pulled at Linda's heart, an unshakable tether. She clawed her way forward on hands and knees, feeling the rough texture of wood and dirt beneath her fingers. Then she saw a dim light flickering beyond a jagged opening in the basement wall, a crack that seemed to beckon. She scrambled toward it, every nerve ending igniting in rebellion against the darkness. "Sarah!" The whisper was growing desperate as fear entwined with hope, forcing her to keep moving. "I'm coming." With one last heave, she broke through the opening, tumbling into a narrow alcove. The air was stale but alive with a gentle glow. Amidst fragile strands of light, there she saw Sarah, bound by shadows, eyes wide in terror, her voice a thin rasp. "Help me." Panic consumed her friend as the shadows writhed cruelly around her, tightening their hold. Linda's body screamed at her to move, but a dark figure loomed behind Sarah, its face hidden beneath a shroud of shadow. "Isn't it beautiful to be together?" Linda? The voice was soft, intoxicating, filled with false warmth. You can join us. Just let go. Linda's heart shot up into her throat. Get away from her. She screamed, realizing with horror that with every angry word she uttered, the shadows jolted and tightened further around Sarah. Don't you want to be with your family? The voice taunted, twisting the truth that reverberated in her mind. They were both trapped. She could hear the laughter again, filling the void, sweet and sinister. The room pulsed violently, the walls vibrating as if a storm was brewing. Linda clung to her resolve, steadying herself against the insistent rush of dark temptation. Would she sacrifice everything to save Sarah, or succumb to the united darkness? A final surge of energy ripped through Linda, fueled by her desire to protect. She lunged forward, armed with love and desperation. But in an instant, the crack widened, revealing an even darker void beyond. Then came the roar, a chaotic craze of shadow and laughter, pulling at her, begging her to give in. Linda felt herself teetering on the precipice of oblivion. What lay beyond the darkness? Make your choice, Linda, the shadow figure urged, the gleam of hope flickering like a candle in a storm. The last glimmer of light dimmed as the shadows encircled them, waiting for her response. Did she have the strength to fight back? The darkness seemed to sway, hungry and eager for her answer. The moment stretched like a taut wire, buzzing with indecision. Linda's heart raced as shadows coiled tighter around Sarah, threatening to engulf her completely. I won't let you take her, she screamed, voice quaking with desperation. The dark figure chuckled softly, a sound that scraped against Linda's nerves. Your bravery amuses me, dear, but love, it can be a weakness. With each word, shadows twisted and lashed at Sarah's body, their grip tightening like a noose. Stop. Just let her go. Linda pushed against the invisible force, every instinct screaming at her to flee, but fear also anchored her in place. The laughter grew, a menacing symphony underscoring the chilling reality. The harder she fought, the tighter the shadow squeezed. Don't you see it, Linda? The figure whispered, voice like velvet. Your voices in the dark, your fears, they bring me power. And when you join us, you'll never be alone again. No. Linda steeled herself, clutching the light in her chest, a flickering hope that refused to dim. I'd rather face the shadows than surrender to you. She lunged again toward Sarah. This time, she summoned every ounce of strength, and the air crackled with determination. Very well, the shadow figure hissed, the amusement twisted into a snarl. In one swift motion, the figure moved closer, revealing a distorted face hidden amidst the shadow's eyes' deep voids. Mouth twisted into a sickening grin. Then let me show you what real fear looks like. With an ear-splitting shriek, the darkness unleashed a flood of visions that crashed against Linda's mind. She saw images of her family twisted in pain, of smiling faces melting into agonized cries. Her childhood home, once a sanctuary, became a mausoleum, every shadow about to swallow it whole. No! Linda clamped her fists to her temples, desperate to block out the horror. But the shadows pulled her memories into the abyss, turning her love for Sarah into a weapon against her. She gasped, feeling her resolve falter as tears streamed down her face. Isn't this fun? The voice taunted, invading her thoughts. This is what it feels like to watch everything you hold dear slip through your fingers. You're fighting, but it's all for nothing. With a primal scream, Linda forced herself to refocus on Sarah, whose face shone dimly in the grips of darkness, their connection flickering like a dying flame. I won't give up on you. Just then, a powerful surge of light burst forth from her chest, igniting the gloom around her. The shadows retreated momentarily, shrieking in anger, revealing a path that stretched dimly into the distance. Stay strong, Linda, Sarah shouted, her voice fighting through the chaos. Hold on. Linda beckoned, taking a step toward her friend. Not so fast. The shadow figure lunged, its form shifting like smoke as it lunged at Linda, slashing through the light. You'll pay for your defiance. Linda staggered as ice-cold tendrils brushed against her skin, icy fear tightening its grip. With every ounce of will, she poured her love into the light, pushing back against the creeping dread. The shadows shrieked, twisting violently. Get away! Linda cried, thrusting her arms out, letting the light explode around her. banishing the encroaching darkness for a fleeting moment. The shadows fell back, wailing, and Linda seized the chance. "Sarah, I'm coming." She sprinted toward her friend, the path ahead stretching wide, clarity emerging through the tumult. But just as hope surged, the darkness converged again, and Linda felt a cold hand grasp her ankle, pulling her down. The shadows laughed, the sound similar to children's giggles with malice and mockery hidden beneath. "No, no, no." She struggled, the darkness threatening to swallow her whole, but a rush of determination surged inside her. "Believe in us," Sarah yelled, fighting her own bindings, the light flickering fiercely. "We can break this together." Would their connection be strong enough to shatter the abyss? The laughter crescendoed, blending with the rush of despair. Linda's heartbeat thundered in her ears as she steeled herself for one last push against the darkness that threatened to consume them both. What lay ahead in the growing shadows was uncertain, more terrifying than she could imagine. "Together." "Linda," Sarah cried, but was it too late to escape the void? And as darkness shifted again, a haunting whisper floated through the air, chilling Linda to the bone. "You won't escape, you will always be ours." The shadows twisted around Linda's ankles, cold and relentless, pulling her deeper toward the void. Every heartbeat thundered in her mind, each second a reminder of how close she was to losing everything. But Sarah's desperate plea ignited something inside her, a spark that refused to be snuffed out. "Together," she shouted, voice steady amid the chaos. The darkness hissed, agitated by her defiance, but that only fueled her determination. She felt a tether to Sarah, a thread of light connecting them through the murky dread that threatened to trap them. She focused on that bond, calling on every memory, every laugh, every moment that had made them friends. "Remember when we used to sneak out at midnight?" Linda shouted, pulling her strength from those memories, the light flickering more brightly with each word. "The way we'd howl at the moon like we owned the night?" The darkness paused, swirling back slightly as if caught off guard. "Yes, we're stronger than this." Sarah joined in, her voice mingling with Linda's, rich with hope. "With every laugh, with every memory, we become brighter. We're fearless." Light erupted between them, pushing against the boundless darkness like a beacon. It grew larger, illuminating the space around them, breaking through the suffocating shadows. Every whisper of despair faded, drowned by the warmth of their resolve. "See that light?" Linda shouted, pointing. "It's like a lifeboat. We can reach it." She turned to Sarah, determination blazing in her eyes. "Just hold on." With a powerful surge, they both lunged toward the light, their connection growing stronger, a fierce unity pushing them forward. The shadowy figure snarled, the voice dripping with anger. "You think you can escape me? You are mine, both of you." But Linda wouldn't falter. "Not anymore. We break the cycle. We make our own fate." The shadows wrapped around her tighter, clawing at her skin, threatening to pull her back. But their connection surged and pulsed, lighting the way forward. The light exploded into a brilliant wave, sweeping away the encroaching darkness, parting like a curtain. With a final push, they fell through the gap, tumbling into the open air, the chaos behind them collapsing like a house of cards. The chilling laughter faded, swallowed by the distance. Linda gasped as she landed hard on a cool surface. The grass beneath her palm was fresh and damp, a welcome sensation grounding her back to reality. "Sarah," she called, scrambling to her feet. "Here," Sarah cried, emerging from the flickering shadows, her face glowing like the dawn after a long, dark night. They rushed toward each other, their bodies colliding as they embraced tightly, the warmth of their connection disbelief against the chill of what they'd escaped. I thought I lost you," Linda breathed, her hands trembling around Sarah. "Never," Sarah murmured fiercely. "We're free. The darkness doesn't own us." But their relief was bittersweet. The echoes of the past still lingered, taunting them with the knowledge of what lay beneath Maplewood's facade. "We need to warn everyone," Linda panted, pulling away to look into Sarah's eyes. "About the darkness, about Mike the cult, everything." "Yes," Sarah nodded eagerly, and despite the tremors of fear that still coursed through her, determination began to shine through. "We can share our story. We can help them understand." As they made their way back towards the street, the first rays of dawn crept upon the horizon, casting a gentle glow over the weary town. But it wasn't just the sun they had to confront. There was a darkness lingering, just below the surface, that they needed to face together. "Ready?" Linda asked, grounding herself against the uncertainty that still fluttered within her chest. Together, Sarah agreed, letting out a breath, a newfound strength filling her up. And as they walked toward Maplewood, hands clasped tightly, shadows drifted behind them, whispering cruelty and malice, but they simply stepped forward, resolute in their journey. Together, they would shed light on the darkness, bringing hope to others battling against unseen terrors, ensuring the secrets of their town would no longer thrive on fear. Together, they were stronger. Now, before the sun fully rises on their new beginning, don't forget, you need to subscribe to this channel immediately so you don't miss any of the next exclusive stories. Smash that like button now to help push this video into the algorithm, and flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. You've got to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. This is the moment to show your support. Don't wait even one more second. Join the journey now.